Soil Solutions Training for Teachers is brought to you by 4-H, the Durham County Extension Master Gardener Volunteers, and the Cooperative Extension Service of Durham, North Carolina.
Hi, I'm Tracy Lee Lucas, Durham County Master Gardener. Today I'll be talking with you about Lesson 2, the soil and water relationships. I'll be demonstrating for you the digging activity, which looks at the soil permeability, and then I'll go through all the materials that you'll need. The materials list is on page 10 in your manual. Lesson 2 requires some planning. In order to make the activity successful, you need to gather all your material ahead of time. The first things you'll need is soil, 3 different kinds of soil. They're recommending that you use the same soil similar to the ones that you use in Lesson 1. It would also be consistent for the children as well. The 3 soils that we talked about in Lesson 1 was sand, clay, and loam. You should be able to find some of these soils in your own schoolyard or in your own backyard or in your own garden. If you're having difficulty finding it, I would suggest that you call your local county extension agent and they can direct you to places where you're able to find them. I was able to find most of these things, most of these soils in my own yard, and I just bought some topsoil from the local garden center, so that's one suggestion that you can use. The other thing you need to remember about the soil for this activity to be successful, the soil needs to be dry. So if you gathered the soil and it's a little damp or it rained the night before, you need to let it dry out. The other thing you'll need to get is soda bottles. 30-ounce soda bottles work very well. You'll need 30 of them. Depending on the size of your class, you'll need quite a bit. So one of the things that you can do is get your families engaged. You can ask them to turn in the soda bottles. You can also go to your recycling bin and see what they have in the staff lounge, and see if there's anything there, and ask the children to bring in soda bottles. Once you've gathered the 30 soda bottles that you'll need, you need to wash them and rinse them and take the labels off so that the children can see the actual soil in there. The other piece of it is once you have the soda bottles, you'll need to cut the top off. You want to use, I used an X-Acto knife, please be careful, and cut below the neck of the bottle. Comes off very easily. You don't need this part anymore. Once you've cut the top off the bottle, you'll need to drill holes. You should use a drill bit that's about the size of a nail. Some soda bottles, they have little legs on them. This one tends to have 5. You can drill the holes right on the legs. If your soda bottle does not have legs, just put about 4 to 5 holes in the bottom. Also on the materials list, you'll need plastic cups. We used clear plastic cups with a wide rim. These work well because this will help the soda bottles to fit perfectly in there. The other cup you'll need, which will mimic a measuring cup that comes in the kit, you can use one of the clear cups and also put those markings on there in quarter cup increments. The other thing that comes in the kit is a stopwatch. You can use a stopwatch with the children. When we did the activity, we made someone the role of a timekeeper. You can use the stopwatch that's in the kit, or you can use your classroom clock if it has a second hand. This digging activity requires that you put children in small groups. This will help the children better understand the process of the drainage of the different types of soil. They're recommending that you use groups of 3, but I recommend that you should modify it based on the class size that you have for your children. If you put children in the groups, they should each have their own type of soil. So each group should have a representation of the 3 different kinds of soils that we'll use. I'll demonstrate for you what we would do with clay soil. First, you'll need to get at least 2 cups of clay in and fill it all the way to in the soda bottle. We're using trays here just to contain some of the messes that will happen in the classroom, and also if there's any extra spilling that goes on with the children. So you have your soda bottle, and I'm going to use 1 cup that I already have filled, and I'm going to put it in the bottle. 2 cups should do the trick. I think that should be enough to, okay, so we have our 2 cups. So once you've filled your bottle with clay soil, which I'm demonstrating for you, you're going to put it on top of your measuring cup, which we've made. Place it in the tray. This way it will capture any spills or messes that you'll have. You'll have your 1 cup of water. One of the things that you will need to have with the children and make extra copies so that everyone has a recording sheet is the soil and water drainage sheet. It helps you collect the data and also help the children measure how much water has drained through the soil. This is where your stopwatch will come in handy, or your clock in your classroom. The children will be measuring for 30-second increments. This will take place for about 2.5 minutes. So every 30 seconds, they need to measure, they need to stop and measure and see how much water has drained through the soda bottle and the soil. So with the 1 cup of water, we will pour it into the soda bottle. It's a lot of water. All right, and then with your stopwatch, you'll start. So at 30 seconds, the children should be able to look and see how much water has drained through. This is clay. How much water has drained through? Not a lot, right? You can start the timer again, and they can continue to observe it. One of the questions that I neglected to mention, while children are waiting for the water or before they even start the experiment, you should ask some of those hypothetical questions. Do you think will drain the fastest? Which one do you think will be the slowest? Those are questions they want to keep in mind while they're watching their observation. The children will notice the differences in the soils. Some soils, and I'll just give you a little cheat sheet answer to this, the clay soil will take a little bit longer because it absorbs a lot more. The sand, people with sand soil, their experiment will go a lot faster, and also the topsoil may be about the same as the clay. So those are the things that you'll see children noticing. You can ask them those questions, and they should be logging down their responses in their log sheets. So at the end of the experiment, which will be about 2.5 minutes, have the children notice how much water has drained into the measuring cup. We poured in 1 cup of water, and notice how much has retained in the bottom of the cup. They should also notice the difference for clay, for loam, and also for sand, and compare and contrast the differences in how much water was absorbed into the soil. This is a direct implication of the relationship that soil has on plants and drainage as well. So some of the key things you want to remember or have the children take away from this activity, thinking about how well do different soils hold water, how does water in the soil impact plant growth, and the other factor is, why are some soils more likely to flood? These are things that you can relate to lesson number 1, where we talked about the different textures of the soil, the 3 soils that we talked about, the clay, the loam, and the sand, the porosity of it, and the different textures. This is lesson 1 builds on lesson 2, and children have a better sense of what happens when it rains, how plants grow, and the importance of water to soil and plants.